Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, I am joined by Rhett of the Cannon Fire podcast. Rhett, how you doing, man?
I am doing really good, James. Glad to be here on the video with you, my friend.
Of course, man. Thanks for being here. We had Evan in the last video. We got Rhett in this video. It's great time, guys. It really is great times. If you guys are new here, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and hit the like button if you do enjoy these types of videos. And let us know your thoughts about what we're talking about down in the comments section down below. And what we are talking about today, Rhett, is the question of who is going to be the starting right guard for this team. Is it going to be Aaron Stinnie? Is it going to be Alex Cappa? And going into this preseason, going into this training camp, everybody assumed it's going to be Alex Cappa, right? That's just, it is what it is. It's going to be Alex Cappa. Aaron Stinnie, hey, great backup, but it's Alex Cappa's job here. But Bruce Arians had a very interesting quote, in my opinion, that shed a little bit more light as to what's really going on here. And Rhett, I'm going to read this quote, and then I want your thoughts here in a moment. So this is what Bruce Arians said. He said, it's closer than you might think in regards to the right guard battle going on there for the starting spot. Stinnie played really well in the playoffs, and Cap, he needs to play because he missed all that time. It's a nice thing to have. It's a good situation. It's great competition. There's a little bit of a battle, but it's Cap's job to lose. Now, Rhett, I want your thoughts on all of that. How have you thought of Stinnie since he's been playing since the playoffs? He did a very good job there. What do you think he's been doing since then? Alex Cappa returning from injury. Just give me your thoughts on this entire situation, including Bruce Arians' comments there.
Yeah, man. I think that last line that you quoted from Bruce there says it all for me. I still think it's Alex Cappa's job to lose. Now, as far as Aaron Stinnie goes, I think he's one of the most underappreciated signings the Bucs were able to make in free agency this last offseason. We saw his performance in the Super Bowl. He stepped up when this team needed it the most. But, the interesting thing about it is that you and I have been out to training camp. We went 5 days over the public training camp. I think we didn't see Aaron Stinnie get any reps with the first team. We did not. Alex Cappa was out there, and Alex Cappa looked pretty good. I think one of the things he did best was just running downfield. Like he's probably the fastest offensive lineman we have. I know that sounds a little weird, but he looked okay. I still think it's his job to lose, though. I like the value with Aaron Stinnie. And for the Bucs, it would be convenient for Stinnie to kind of step in because I think he is on that cheap 1-year deal. And Kappa's got a contract that expires at the end of this year, right? So for them, maybe they're looking ahead at Stinnie. I don't think so, though. I think it's Alex Kappa's job. And as long as he goes out there and does his job this season, it will continue to be his job. But, with the contract coming to an end, it's an interesting situation to monitor for sure.
Yeah, both guys have expiring contracts, which I think makes this even more interesting. You talked
Right.
about it, Alex Cappa. We've seen him in training camp, right? He hasn't messed up. He hasn't had really bad whiffs or anything like that. We would have seen that, right? And overall, from what you've been hearing reported and all these other different types of things, Alex Cappa's looked pretty good. But on that same note, I haven't really seen Aaron Stinnie mess up too much either. I haven't seen him make any big blemishes or situations where it's like, oh yeah, it's clear that Aaron Stinnie's a backup here. He's looked, I think, solid as well. So let me ask you this. Why do you think Bruce Arians would say something like this? Is to say like, hey, it's closer than you think, let's see what happens here. Because Alex Cappa has also been playing more extended time in preseason games as well with some of the backups we've seen in certain situations. So why do you think that happened, as well as coupling it with Bruce Arians' quotes here?
Well, it's no secret that Bruce is the type of guy where he's going to say what he needs to. And sometimes it's going to get the attention of the people it needs to on the roster. He's a coach who wants to get the most out of his players. And if, being passive aggressive or maybe tossing out an insult or two at a press conference is going to do it, like that's just his style. But he's going to light a fire under your ass, basically, he wants to get the most out of his players. Even if they don't think that they're playing for a job, everybody on that roster needs to think that like they are on the brink of starting on this team, right? That's just how you get the best play out of your guys in the preseason. And then that's how you see what they can do. For Aaron Stinnie, he definitely has a leg up because Alex Cappa, of course, didn't get the start of the Super Bowl, and Stinnie was just he played his best in the most important games of the year, and that's a pretty good thing to say. Like we didn't hear his name at all on the night of the Super Bowl because he went out there and he did a great job at right guard. But as far as Bruce goes and his quotes, he just likes to get the most out of players, and sometimes he needs to get the attention of guys on the roster. We've seen how openly critical he has been of Tanner Hudson. He talked about Tyler Johnson coming in heavy. Like he is not afraid to just name drop in these press conferences. And I think maybe he knows these guys are paying attention, and that's his way of just getting their attention and letting them know, like, hey, don't slouch because I'm paying attention and I'm watching you.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is probably a way to light a fire under Alex Cappa. And we can talk about long-term stuff here in a minute, but Alex Cappa did look very good in the regular season. Of course he did. We all know this. A lot of people were giving him praise, and
he's a tough guy. I think he's one of the toughest offensive linemen. I mean, you think of Ryan Jensen, but you remember the LA game in 2019? He broke his arm?
Yep.
Broke his arm and kept playing an entire half of football. Like he is tough, and he's definitely going to go out there and do his job to the best of his ability. But when you are a guy coming off of injury, sometimes it gets a little bit harder to get back up to 100%. But I think Bruce is just trying to get some more motivation out of him so he can step up and be as good as he was at one point.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You know what it reminds me of is I was going to mention this. It reminds me exactly of the Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette situation. Last year, whenever they had made the Leonard Fournette signing, everybody assumed like Leonard Fournette's going to be the starter, and Bruce Arians came out and said, "Hey, yeah, we'll have a competition, but it's Ronald Jones' job to lose." And it's
Right.
almost like they will play Aaron Stinnie if Alex Cappa basically forces their hand. If he plays so bad where they say, okay, we've got to start Aaron Stinnie here, then yes, Aaron Stinnie would be the starter. Otherwise, it's going to be Alex Cappa, much like what we saw with Ronald Jones. He played really well, to the point where, Leonard Fournette for the entirety of the regular season, he didn't have to play that much, if really at all. And then, much like in the case of Alex Cappa, Ronald Jones got hurt. His injuries hampered him a lot in the playoffs. Leonard Fournette came in. He stepped in a big way, became playoff Lenny, Lombardi Lenny, and there you have a running back controversy now going into this upcoming season as well. It's literally two parallel scenarios here going on with the right guard position and the running back situation. It's very interesting to pay attention to, Yeah. So, hey, maybe we should start calling him Playoff Stinnie or something, I don't know.
There we go.
Who knows?
I like it, man. That's catchy.
Yeah, you got Playoff Lenny, you got Playoff Stinnie. It's an interesting situation, but, Rhett, let me ask you this. After this season, whatever happens, Alex Cappa, he's gonna probably want some big money, because he's been an Iron Man. He's been progressing year after year after year. Buccaneers can't pay everybody along that offensive line. Do you see a scenario where after this season, Alex Cappa says, okay, I'm going to go to free agency, and they say, that's fine. We've got Aaron Stinnie here.
Yeah, I think they could be looking at that. Alex Cappa, it really depends on what kind of price he wants. Like you said, they're not going to be able to keep everybody. So if Aaron Stinnie is the next man up, I think that's going to be okay. I don't think Aaron Stinnie is going to fetch the price that an Alex Cappa would, but I'm very curious to see what Cappa would have, as value for a right guard in the NFL, because you don't really hear about those guys having game-breaking contracts. But, it's interesting to see if the Bucs will be able to work with it or not. He's a small school guy that the Buccaneers drafted. That's how they like their offensive linemen. And I'm sure that they would like to keep Cappa around. But if he ends up signing elsewhere because they're going to pay him more money, I think Aaron Stinnie would step up. And I've got confidence that he could be just as good because, we saw him in the biggest game in Bucs history. And he went out there and basically did his job for 4 quarters. And now he's a Super Bowl champion. So I think Stinnie could step up if we were to lose Cappa, but I think the Bucs definitely want to keep him around. He's one of their guys, and that's why it is his job to lose, because he's just one of their guys.
Yeah, so guys, you've heard it here. You know, right now as it stands, they're not going to do a scenario either, I believe, right, Rhett, where it's like, we're going to ride the hot hand at right guard. That
Right. Yeah, that's not necessarily what you do. If an injury happens, unforeseen stuff that you can't predict, sure, maybe we'll throw Stinnie in there. But no, I don't think there's going to be a trial period for either of those guys. You're going to have a definite starter by week 1.
Right. That would be an extreme experiment, though, to see, hey, we give Leonard Fournette a few carries, see how he does. Okay, he's not doing great. We go to Ronald Jones. You say, okay, we'll give Alex Cappa a few plays here. He didn't block very well. Let's go to Aaron Stinnie.
You just assign a right guard to a running back, like Ronald Jones and Alex Cappa, and then Aaron Stinnie and Leonard Fournette, your guys that came in last year. Keep it together by seniority, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. So, guys, that's all of our thoughts here. Rhett, again, thank you so much for being a part of this video. Before we go ahead and sign off, do you have any final words?
Just make sure you guys check out the Cannon Fire podcast. You can download the podcast anywhere you get one, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple, all of that good stuff. Also, check out the YouTube channel. Plenty of great content that isn't just the podcast. Training camp vlogs with me and James. I snuck in some really cool pictures of you and Grant Stewart at the end of the last one. I don't know if you saw that, but game day vlogs and a bunch of other great stuff. And then social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Redicus. If you follow me, I will follow you back. Thanks for having me on the video, James.
Of course, man. Thanks again for being on. Guys, let us know your thoughts about everything we talked about down in the comment section down below. I will also have Rhett's channel, the Cannon Fire Podcast, in the pinned comment down below as well. Who do you think is going to be the starting right guard come week 1? Is it going to be Alex Cappa? Is it going to be Aaron Stinnie? Playoff Stinnie is maybe what we're calling him now. We're going to have to wait and see there. But one more thing, guys. Don't forget, November 14th, Rhett and Evan are actually hosting the Cannon Fire Watch Party. They have teamed up with Barry Haas and Wingbox, the food truck, to go ahead and provide a really awesome event. I will be there as a guest, and it's going to be a wonderful time. So, again, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, we will see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.